Hello and welcome to Salubrious Skin with Dr. Irene. Now, Happy New Year. It's 2019. This is the first podcast of the year. And as usual, I tend to struggle with ideas because I think, gosh, what do people want to hear? What information do they need? And a lot of my topics come from conversations I've had with my patients. So one conversation that I've had already quite regularly in such an early start to 2019 are juices. And apparently the craze at the moment is celery and apple juice. And although we would think those two items of fresh produce is healthy for us, I want to talk today about juices and whether they are actually beneficial, are they detrimental, who are they for, and how much should you enjoy? Because all these variables come into play when we make these decisions. And often they're in this day and age with social media and so many of us spending time scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and seeing what other people are doing, especially those of us who are struggling with our health, wanting to start the new year on the best foot forward and making those changes to our diet and not necessarily understanding what these dietary changes do to our body and whether they're actually beneficial for our individual circumstances. So obviously, I'm going to be quite broad in what I'm going to talk about, but I think it's important for a lot of us to understand what juices are doing to our body and which juices are beneficial and which aren't. So if we look from the broad perspective, when we are juicing something, so whether it's a fruit or a vegetable, we are consuming larger quantities, because if we're let's say celery juice, if we're having raw celery, we would probably have a stick or two perhaps, but in a juice, to make a glass or even half a glass, you would be using a lot more, potentially half a bunch of celery. So whenever we are juicing anything, always bear in mind you are consuming greater quantities than if you were consuming it in its raw form or in its cooked form as well. The other thing is that when we're juicing fruit, we are juicing pretty much little balls of sugar. And although it's a natural sugar, they still are, fruit is still high in sugar. So always use one fruit per juice. And that would be, in my opinion, every few days. It wouldn't be something that you would do on a daily basis. Now, the reason for that is say, for instance, I just had a conversation with a patient and she was telling me she was pretty much having 5 apples a day. So 2 per juice and then 1 on its own. So that would be a couple of juices per day. Now, what juices do, obviously it's raw. Obviously it would be cold. Sometimes you could have room temperature if you're using vegetables and fruits that have been sitting on your kitchen bench, but more likely we grab it from the fridge, we put it in the juicer, and then we drink it. So it tends to be cold and raw. Now in Chinese medicine, cold and raw foods actually upset the digestion. And one way that I usually tell my patients to override this effect is adding some ginger in, or having the vegetables and fruit sit on the kitchen bench for a period of time. Now, our stomach at 7 to 9 a.m., which is when we usually have our breakfast, wants something raw. If we have something for breakfast that's cold, our digestion will, over a period of time, react. Initially, it may not react. If we've got a strong spleen, qi, as we call it in Chinese medicine, or a strong digestion, a strong constitution, we certainly won't see any effects at all. If we are a little bit weak, which it tends to be the case when people are looking at these sort of options, their health isn't great, they perhaps don't feel great in the digestion, they're feeling a bit sluggish, their energy's a bit low, their skin might be a little bit blemished or have lesions, eczema, psoriasis. maybe joints are sore, maybe there's been too much party food and drinking. So the thought process behind that is, let me juice a little bit, get some vegetables, nutrients into my body, and override all the heavy carbs or sugary food or alcohol that has been consumed over the Christmas and New Year period. So that thought process is great. It is a good idea to do a little mini detox, a mini cleanse, but it's really important to understand whether that's right for your health. So someone who definitely should not be doing any juices is someone who experiences loose stools, mucus in their stools, bloating. If you look at your tongue, you've got teeth marks around the edges of your tongue. These are all indicative of a very weak digestion. And when we're consuming juices, like I said, they're cold, they're raw, that's not going to be ideal for the digestion. Now, if you feel okay and then you drink these juices and then have a reaction, whether that be loose stools, bloating, reflux, heartburn, then that indicates that your digestion isn't 100%, and it definitely doesn't need something like this. Now, if you're feeling great and you actually feel on top of the world, a lot of people have said, I've been juicing, I actually really feel a lot better, I feel more energized. That's good. When you're looking at juices, I would always choose organic. And the reason for that is because you are juicing that entire vegetable. When we're cooking things, we possibly leach out some of the pesticides that are in the vegetable. If we're peeling, say peeling a carrot or, having watermelon or anything like that with a thick skin, we're taking the skin off and less pesticides. Now, when we're talking about things like broccoli, it's a matter of washing it very well and trying to choose organic if possible. So the main thing of if you are wanting to juice, I would encourage you to do it once every 4 days. Now, in general, one of the things I discuss with my patients a lot is a 4-day rotation when it comes to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When we have 4 different breakfasts, 4 different lunch varieties, and 4 different dinner varieties, we are actually encouraging different nutrition, different digestive enzymes, reducing the same type of vitamins and nutrients over a period of time. Say, for instance, if we have chicken every day for lunch, if we have cereal every day for breakfast, or we have red meat every day for dinner, we're not finding a huge array of nutrients, and different digestive enzymes are required to digest different nutrients. So when we can work on a 4-day rotation, essentially you will find that your nutrition will improve, digestion will improve, and also you won't react to things that may be a little bit, not beneficial for your health, because it's only done once or twice a week. So something like juices, definitely once every 4 days. So if you're saying I'm having a juice for breakfast, and then the next day you might have eggs, the next day you might have some muesli that you've made up for yourself, the next day you might have gluten-free pancakes, whatever it is, you have a nice 4-day rotation. And I do have patients that actually have an Excel spreadsheet and this is more for family dinners and knowing what's on the agenda. That can make life a lot easier. And having that over 14 days makes life a lot easier when shopping, knowing what you're going to cook and preparing meals. But I'm not here to talk about meal prep here. I'm talking about juices. Now, what sort of juices? Now, celery and apple, like I said, is the craze at the moment. And celery is fantastic. It is actually really good. But for variety, I would encourage, perhaps you can mix it up a little bit. You can put celery, carrot. Carrot has lots of beta carotene. Carotene is beneficial for vitamin A production and great for skin health. So utilizes it as the body needs it. So it's not actual vitamin A, but it actually utilizes it as it's needed. Then you've got beetroot. Now, beetroot is, in Chinese medicine, we say it helps with the manufacture of blood. Now, obviously, this podcast is called Salubrious Skin, so with Dr. Irene. So beetroot is very beneficial for the skin, and I'll tell you why. It helps eliminate toxins, so it acts a little bit like a laxative. So you have to be mindful of that. Have to be mindful of the fact that it will make urine and stools red. So if you see that, not being concerned and worried that something is happening inside, it's really just the beetroot that's caused that to happen. And it nourishes blood, as I said. In Chinese medicine, we believe a lot of dryness of the skin comes from what we call a blood and yin deficiency. When we nourish our yin and we nourish our blood, we're really nourishing our body fluids. And things like beetroot will improve the manufacture of blood. When we eat our food in a way that's nutritious, we are actually manufacturing more blood in the body. And when it comes to skin problems, the dryness can actually come from a blood deficiency. Now, if we talk about psoriasis and eczema, what it usually presents as a very pale type of lesion. If it's very red and thick and inflamed, that's more inflammation. Now, there's no harm in nourishing blood in those circumstances, but people with that sort of presentation need to be having anti-inflammatory foods. So beetroot is also anti-inflammatory, and like I said, it helps eliminate the toxins through the bowels. But if you ever reach a point where you're having loose stools, you've just gone too far. The stools always need to be a healthy elimination, a solid mass, easy to pass, and then you're doing the right thing by your digestion. If it's going to a loose stool, you've just taken it too far and you need to take it back a bit. So I always encourage people to have beetroot maybe for a couple of days a week, and that's it. You wouldn't be having it every day. Even if it's something that you are struggling with. You know, I often have patients say, stools have always been an issue in my life. That doesn't matter. It's a work in progress. You don't need to be having beetroot every single day, because you will reach a point where it'll be too much and you'll have loose stools. As soon as you have loose stools, you're losing your nutrients as well as your waste in the one mass of elimination. So you don't want to be doing that. So when it comes to juices, as I said, try and have organic, have it once to twice a week. Make sure you change up your diet so you have different things every day. Now, I know there are detoxes that will juice, that will encourage juicing every single day. You know, again, it's something that I would encourage to be under the care of a health practitioner. If you don't have any health concerns and you really just want to do a detox, that's great. Now, when we're coming to detoxification, we are actually wanting to eliminate toxins naturally. So we eliminate toxins through our liver, our bowel, our kidneys, our lymphatic system, our lungs. So there's actually a lot of organs involved in the detoxification process. If there is any weakness in those organ systems, then simply just doing a liquid fast or a detox won't necessarily resolve that. If there is a spleen qi issue, if there's a digestion issue, it will exacerbate your health concerns. So if you've got leaky gut or any GI tract issues, I wouldn't be doing a detox with just liquids. I would be eliminating inflammatory foods. I would be eliminating sugar, alcohol, dairy, wheat, gluten, all that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't be eliminating every food, because food is nutrition, food is medicine. And sometimes it is beneficial for us to consume food to heal the body, but just avoiding the foods that will exacerbate our health concerns. So with regards to other vegetables to consume, you can have anything. Lots of green veggies are going to be anti-inflammatory. When you have joint issues, skin issues, histamine issues, I would encourage you to avoid acidic vegetables and fruits. So your oranges, tomatoes, things like that, because the acidity of these fruits and vegetables will actually exacerbate your situation. If you're looking for a cleanse, you're looking at a green type base juice. And the one I said with beetroot, carrot, celery, and an apple is really ideal, and I would stick to that. Certainly can mix it up a bit with doing spinach. Kale is not ideal raw, so I would not have kale. I would encourage you to cook kale. Kale is not one of those vegetables that is beneficial for your health raw. So always cook your kale. You can do kale chips if you want, whatever you want. But kale is a great way to eliminate toxins, but best to consume cooked. And as far as fruits, pears are fantastic for increasing body fluids. Now, lots of people use banana. Banana is great. I mean, I personally love bananas. Don't eat them. I can't eat them. Not great for my skin. Bananas are not ideal for anyone who has mucus. So if it's someone who has asthma, has phlegm in the chest, you have phlegm a lot of the time, or your tongue's very coated, you get thrush, candida, you have past mucus in the stools, what other scenario? Any sort of mucus in the body, bananas aren't ideal. So if you do, I would encourage you to avoid bananas and look at something more of apple, pear. This time of year here in Australia, we've got summer, so we've got lots of stone fruit. But like I said, 1 fruit per juice. You can do 3 to 4 fruits, vegetables rather, in your juice, but 1 fruit. And if it's first thing in the morning, if you feel like you need a little bit of warmth, you can put a thin slice of ginger in your juice, and that will help with neutralizing the nature of the juice and making it more neutral. So it's not cold, it's not hot, it's just neutral. Now, what else I'm thinking? Basically, I think that would be it. I think it's important, really the take-home message is, if you have digestion issues, be mindful of juices not being beneficial. If you don't have any health concerns, then juices are great. Great way to really maximize your nutrition. Like I said, you're consuming a lot of vegetables. Try and keep it organic. Try and grow it in your garden. I'm not someone who grows anything in my garden, but I have parents that do, which is great. But yeah, try to grow things to keep it as pesticide free as possible, and also keeping to 1 fruit per juice. That's really important, not to have a cup of just juice. That's not ideal. Rotate your breakfast every 4 days. If you're using the juice as a snack, then again, just use it as a snack for once every 4 days. So that's it for me today. I think that's covered the basics of juicing. If you have any questions, let me know. Put them underneath this podcast and share with me anything that I may have missed or some concerns you have. If you want to know more about fasting through doing juices or water fast or whatever it is, let me know and I can share some information. But I think for the basic understanding of what these juices do to your body, that's really, we've covered those bases there today. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll catch you next time for our next episode. And if you like the podcast, share it amongst your friends and family and let them know that we've started again for 2019. And I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.